Awe-inspiring God, we come together this day because we need to be reminded to see through the lens of delight. Too often we forget that we are made to delight in the diversity and abundance of your gifts. Open us to perceive anew, inspire us to receive our surroundings with awe. Forgive us when we get complacent, when we choose routine over opportunities for new experiences. Be with us on this journey as we seek again to marvel at your works. God forgives us, Jesus embraces us, the Spirit enlivens us, we are whole. With awe we accept this belovedness, and all God's people say, Amen. But your loyal love, O God, extends to the skies. Your faithfulness reaches the clouds. Your righteousness is like the strongest mountains. Your justice is like the deepest sea. Lord, you save both humans and animals. Your faithful love is priceless, God. Humanity finds refuge in the shadow of your wings. They feast on the bounty of your house. You let them drink from your river of pure joy. Within you is the spring of life. In your light, we see light.
Delight. I'm not sure this is very appropriate. Shouldn't we be somber and grim in this season of self-reflection and repentance, sackcloth and ashes? Lent has not been a very joyful time throughout the history of the church. In some traditions, you fast, at least on Fridays, and by fast, that is often observed as going to a fish fry. But it has been, and is, a season of preparation before Easter and its celebrations, although it has to go through the pain and sacrifice of Holy Week first. I guess it's not that I think we shouldn't have delight as our theme this week, but maybe we should explain it all a little more. Delight isn't something frivolous or silly or flimsy or unserious. In fact, it's deadly serious. At least it's extremely valuable and important. So in that sense, it's really very Lenten, as it is something that helps us grow deeper and better spiritual lives. Isn't that the point of Lenten observances? Really, it's the point of every season of life, but we choose to make it our front and center priority in these weeks before Easter. So, what is delight? Are we talking about when we like something a lot, like dark chocolate, a delightful indulgence, like a really gorgeous sunset, an adorable child, a very good movie, all delightful things? It is that sort of thing, yes, but there's more to it. We're talking about serious awe, like stops you in your tracks, takes your breath away awe, those moments. We are most alive when we feel awe, deeper than words, goosebumps territory, chills down spines, grins across faces, even jaws dropping, that kind of awe. It comes out in other ways too, tears of joy, tears for other reasons, profound moments of realization. And speaking of tears, in the book for our Lenten study group, Awe, Dr. Keltner writes, our tears register our awareness of vast things that unite us with others. Our goosebumps accompany notions of joining with others and facing mysteries and unknowns together. Today, we may sense these laws of bodily awe when moved by a favorite musical group, or in calling out in protest with others in the streets, or in bowing our heads together in contemplation, and in such rushes of tears and chills, we may glean a sense of what our souls might be. When we experience awe, and it gets to us, when it makes us tear up, when what we encounter or experience is beyond words, then our emotions and tears end up doing all the talking in the divine human conversation that we call faith. Delight and awe play a very important role in our spiritual and emotional life, and so it is entirely fitting to talk about it, since our spiritual life is what we're talking about. I would like to share another quote now, this from our Mystic of the Week. in this case, Albert Einstein. We human beings are slowed down sound and light waves, a walking bundle of frequencies tuned into the cosmos. We are souls dressed up in sacred biochemical garments, and our bodies are the instruments through which our souls play their music. That's a great one. I've been appreciating these each week, something to think about, food for thought, which is good, since by the time on a Sunday morning we get to them, we sometimes start to shift our thinking to real food, and whether we will get to wherever we want to go to eat after church before everyone else does. You might be thinking that. But I think Einstein qualifies as a mystic, despite his place in the Quantum Physics Hall of Fame. You don't have to be a monk or a nun or a theologian to be a mystic. You just have to be someone who is searching for spiritual truths that are beyond the intellect, which can be grasped by and through the pursuit of awe, which comes from delight. Delighting in divine delights isn't something that's mysterious or elusive. It does kind of all sound so meditation-y and mystical, but it's really more practical than that. The psalm tells us so. We aren't on a deep search for some obscure, abstract, elusive part of God. We are being asked to consider that we experience delight in God in very tangible things. Refuge under the shadow of God's wings, feasting on the bounty of creation provided by God, drinking from the pure stream of water that is joy. The writer of the psalm gives us these tangible, real-life things that we know and can experience any day to show us how to be enthralled by God and filled with delight in God, even though finding awe and feeling delight might seem like they're esoteric spiritual disciplines. They're not. One commentator, Ben Hensley, who is a colleague of the worship designer Marcia McPhee, who is responsible for a lot of this series and its materials, writes, "The spirituality of delight is a spirituality that enjoys, appreciates, and experiences the actual pleasures of the creation God has made. God's love is precious to us because God's love for us encourages us to delight in God's creation. Where we can fall into trouble is when those delights are not equally accessible to everyone, when those delights numb us to the responsibility of stewardship God has given us, or when those delights are taken in excess and transform delight into damage. Spirituality is grounded in the present life we are living. Spirituality isn't just a thought exercise, it is a lived, tangible, experiential practice. The delights God has given us are tastes of the greater delight, the wellspring of life. All that is good and delightful in creation is a taste, a sampler of the actual, incomprehensible goodness and delight of God." If you are one of the 5 people who has come to my book study on awe by Dr. Keltner, you know that I have been impressed from the start about the part where he talks about in the book. He did some work and research as a scientist of emotions and psychology at Berkeley, and they did work around awe, specifically through journaling. And they found that keeping a record, even if it's just for you, not for publication or a blog, keeping a record is the best way to get in touch with the awe that is all around us. It's a great reminder of the fact that this is all practical and attainable. So when people turned in their diaries to the researchers and when they went over the entries, it was noted that people who regularly kept track of and were looking for it found experiences of awe 2 to 3 times a week. Maybe that's just what they call confirmation bias, where you end up seeing what you expect to see. But maybe confirmation bias is just another term for faith, or becoming a purveyor of awe in this case. If we want to find awe and delight, they're around us already. We see it in the ways we observe people helping others. That's a big source of awe. We see it in nature. We hear it in music. We experience it in art. In those moments of collective effervescence when a group of people feels the same charge in the air at a concert or a sporting event or at anything where people are together and everyone gets goosebumps. Are we looking for that, my mystical friends? So Marcia McPhee, the worship designer, writes about having a delight bucket. When she is down, when she feels disconnected from others and from God, she herself goes to the mountains. She actually wrote a book about the spirituality of snowboarding some years ago. I totally get it. It's very solid spiritual territory. But sometimes she has to refill her delight bucket. It's something Jesus did. Not snowboarding, of course, but going up on a mountain to pray, to feel close to God again. It's where Jesus chose to feel the delight of creation, the awe-inspiring vastness of vistas and valleys from above. And Jesus often went at night, it says. He would pray all night long. Can you imagine it? Climbing up and up, he turns around to see the land stretched out in front of him, the evening falling, the sea perhaps glistening in the sunset, and finally the stars appearing. We can imagine he delighted in the solitude, the quiet, the ability to simply be. Perhaps it was on the mountaintop that he could sense most deeply that intimate oneness to all things holy and human. We all have places where we sense we are closer to God. We get a feeling from these places, a sensation, a very real physical phenomenon like goosebumps or breath taken away or some deep longing filled. Paying attention to those moments of awe is so important to our well-being, and it is crucial for our spiritual life. It is the antidote to all things that threaten to take away our happiness in this world. It's what recharges us when we are down or out, or both. It's how Jesus took care of himself as he did his work and practiced his ministry. It's how he was able to take in the suffering of the people around him as he ministered to the poor and sick and dealt with the oppression of empire and the pushback of religious authorities who were often none too thrilled with him. Sometime up on the hill, after the moon rose and before the sun appeared, he prayed, he pondered, he rested. How our delight bucket gets filled is different for everyone. For some, it's out in nature when our eye is on the sparrow or some other interesting bird. Sometimes it comes from finding our sense of purpose in helping others or experiencing the wonders of this world in a million different ways that speak to your soul. How or where is your delight bucket filled? That's a real question to ponder. And finally, I know it's trite to say, but one interesting thing that people can do to observe Lent is not by giving up something, which doesn't do anything. It's a lack of, it is a minus. But when we reverse that, when we take something on in Lent and add to and do something positive, then maybe we're getting somewhere spiritually. So let's consider doing some of the things that this psalm says. Feast on God's bounty. Drink from God's streams of delight. Find refuge in the shadow of God's wings. All as the path of discipleship, a way of following in the practice of Jesus, of getting closer to God and curating for ourselves a deep and spiritual life. We hope you're enjoying Podchurch. Please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and be notified each time there's a new video. To learn more about everything that's happening in and around Marquette Hope, check out our Facebook page. You can also get our newsletter on the Facebook as well. Podchurch is the weekly online worship of Marquette Hope, a United Methodist faith community located in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Find us at facebook.com/mqthope, mqthope.com, and on